All right, Dave, you have a choice. Bloomberg, Kamala, what is your pick to talk about?
Oh, to talk about? I thought I had to choose to support one of them.
I would never do that to you.
Well, I think Kamala Harris is very charismatic, just really charming. That laugh. It was so authentic.
Yes.
And it's a shame she didn't study psychology more. Then she wouldn't have had to be a cop, locking up people for smoking pot.
Yeah.
I think if there was one policy that is the reason for the vast majority of the problems that we have in this country, it's that the government controls the schools.
Yes.
And the idea that we want to put kids in these government prisons for longer is like the worst thing I've ever heard a presidential candidate propose.
Yeah. Scott, this guy Frank Fleming on Twitter made a good point that if you put somebody through 16 years of anything, they should come out as Batman, right? But after 16 years, they can barely sell hot tubs. So technically, I mean, 16 years, a kid at 8 should come out and be a Navy SEAL who can play classical violin. But they're not. And we're not teaching them anything. We're not focusing on talents.
Yeah, and worse than that, their strategy is terrible because I think some of the Democrats are trying to get 16-year-olds to vote.
Yes.
And one of them is trying to jail them for another few hours in prison. And I'm almost positive the 16-year-old thing is because they thought they would vote Democrats. Say, hey, I got an issue for you. More school. Those are Trump supporters right there.
Exactly. Tyrus, how do you feel about Bloomberg entering? You happy, excited?
You know what? He is right.
Yeah.
He is right on a lot of things. The Democratic, they're bad. I mean, they're bad. They're really bad. Like the one who's doing the best. If you asked him, "Hey, are you doing the best?" He would say, "I don't know if I like tomato soup." Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's your front runner. That's your front runner. That's the guy who's running away with all.
Yes.
And they're like, no, back over here. Like, so I think he's accurate for doing that. I think the reactions from the from the leaders was pretty good. Oh man, it's billionaire, 8 billion. Like, that's the Democratic Party, ladies and gentlemen. I'm just gonna go out on a limb here. I think the President Donald Trump could get impeached and then run again and win again. Like, that's how bad they are.
Kat?
Yes, Greg.
Do you think they should be in school till 6 p.m.?
Okay, so the idea here is that some parents, it'd be better for their schedule to have the school take care of them longer. And there's no issue with some families have a need for that. My mom, she was a school social worker, and she ran one of those programs for kids after school, and I would go and help sometimes when I was grounded, and she made me.
Yes.
And that's great, but the problem that I have with Kamala's plan is she's saying that should be the expectation that the government takes care of your kids all the time.
Right.
I don't have kids, but if I ever did have one, like pop out or however that works, I don't think I'd just be like, well, my work here is done. Like, somebody who's gonna take care of this? Somebody gotta take care of this. I'm out. Like, no, if you have the kid, take care of it.
I can say as a parent at a certain age, you're like, take them. I really don't want my kids in extracurricular activity at 10 o'clock at night.
There are some families that need help, and there are those tough situations and they're struggling, but that's not even what she's saying. She's saying the expectation, the standard should be that the government is raising your kids for you. I'm going to want the government as far away from my kids as possible.
Yeah, and I do think until we start looking at asking kids what they want to do, even if kids have ridiculous dreams, fulfill it. Like, if he wants to be, I want to be a Texas Ranger, then for 14 years. You can become a Texas Ranger too. You can teach so much in 14 years. I learned nothing. Nothing. Still mad. All right, more stuff to come.